Meet Grandma Agnes, a cheerful 70-year-old grandmother who loves cooking with her grandchildren. Every Sunday, she looks forward to sharing stories and preparing delicious meals together. However, lately she's been feeling a bit down because she's finding it harder to keep up. She gets tired quickly and is feeling constant knee pains when she stands for too long. Worried about losing out on important moments, Grandma Agnes consults her doctor, who explains that as we get older, it's normal for our bodies to change, and sometimes that means it's harder to move around like we used to. But the doctor reassures her that there are things they can do to help her stay active and continue making cherished memories with her loved ones. This story highlights the importance of mobility in aging. It's not just about being able to walk, it's about being able to keep doing the things we love with the people we care about. In today's video, we're going to dive deeper into the topic of mobility and aging and explore why it's so important. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly do we mean when we talk about mobility? Well, mobility is the ability to move around freely and comfortably. It's about being able to walk, stand, sit, and even balance, all the things we need to do to get around our daily lives. But mobility is more than just physical movements. It's about staying connected with our communities, preventing falls and injuries, and maintaining our overall well-being. Mobility loss in older adults is generally a result of impairments in the brain, muscles, and joints. Factors contributing to mobility impairments can be diverse, such as personal, which can be health or socioeconomic related, as well as environmental. However, a person's health can induce mobility impairments too. For example, diseases such as arthritis and diabetes can pose impairments to motor function. Physical function can also be lost after falls or hospitalizations. Lack of physical activity is another thing associated with the decline of mobility as one ages. Mobility is essential for adults to maintain independence as they age. Doing physical activities have been shown to reduce the risk of major mobility disability, which can help to avoid institutionalization. Furthermore, maintained mobility can improve satisfaction with life as adults age in terms of health conditions, independence, and social connectedness. These reasons show why mobility and maintaining mobility are important in the lives of older adults who aim to be socially engaged and independent. Today, we have the privilege of delving deeper into this topic with our expert collaborator, Brenda Vrkljan. She is a professor in the Department of Rehabilitation Sciences and a trained occupational therapist. Let's dive into our conversation with her.
Really want us to think about the heterogeneity of that population. And that's a big word for we're diverse. We have different ways of doing things. We have different ways of moving, and one way of moving is not better than another. So I think we do have to think about mobility across the lifespan. And I'll give another example of when a baby is born and it's born premature. And actually they have to be really positioned very carefully when they're leaving the hospital. And we think about a child car seat and how that's actually built for big babies or bigger babies. They're all small and fragile, of course. But you can imagine for a parent, right, to be able to take their child home, we have to think about that. We had Dr. Peter Rosenbaum come to my first class, and he's a developmental pediatrician, and he spoke about children being born with different abilities, different disabilities, and those children, right, also need to travel in car seats, right? You can talk about a child with cerebral palsy, you can talk about diagnoses, all of that to say that we want all of us to be safe and be able to move into different spaces and places. So the car, the way things are set up, it's really important, and we want to be able to facilitate people's ability to do that. What I'll say is when I first started as an occupational therapist in Chatham and we didn't know very much actually about people's everyday driving. And I knew, right, how important it is to go to the research. But when I went to the research, there wasn't much there. So in fact, a research group formed in Canada called CAN Drive, which is a Canadian driving research initiative for vehicular safety in the elderly. It's a long name, but a group that also involved older adults in that research. At the end of the day, we need to support mobility, which takes me back to the very first question. How do we support people, including families, to be able to support people in their own home, in their own communities for as long as possible. And so what we did was we put a device, an earlier version of a GPS device in their car, and we saw how they drove, and we tracked their health-related changes to try to determine, so if I'm an occupational therapist or a physician or another healthcare professional, and I'm seeing an older driver just like I was in Chatham, is there a tool that I can use, right? So we tracked them for 5 years and saw some of those predictors. And in fact, we've just published that study. So it takes a long time, right, to develop those factors. And you're not going to be surprised that some of those factors are the way we think and process information. We call that executive functioning, the way we move. So our motor skills, right? And so if we're not moving that can affect our driving, but then we have to layer on top some other things, right? Which is our executive functioning. And when all of that to say that with that study, right, there were those demographic factors, there were, right, behavioral factors. And at the end of the day, it came down to a few factors using some statistical analysis that we did alongside tracking their everyday driving behavior. We have a perception, an ageist lens in terms of the older driver in particular. Usually we don't have a good message just because of the media, the way things have been framed to us. And so this idea of breaking that stereotype and breaking that stigma becomes really important. So now with these more advanced GPS technology that we have their audio and video. And so in fact, with the road skills study, the aim is to give feedback. So we're able to identify what are the most common routes per participant that they drive on, and then give them feedback on their driving, and then determine, did that feedback make a difference on their everyday driving route? And so this notion of mobility as a concept is really important, but we need to think of it as a spectrum and not just walking on its own, not just driving on its own. You can talk about cycling and public transit. In fact, those are all connected.
Now that we've heard from Brenda Vrkljan, it's clear that maintaining mobility is important. Her insights shed light on the importance of staying active and addressing mobility issues early on. Remember, whether it's taking a stroll in the park, joining a dance class, or simply incorporating more movement into your daily routine, staying active can make a world of difference in maintaining mobility and enjoying a fulfilling life. We hope this video has inspired you to prioritize mobility and take steps towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. Until next time, take care and keep moving.